Professor, it has cost me a lot thus far, even though it's not Children's Day yet, apparently.
But Steve is right. May 27 is Children's Day in Nigeria.
Thank you. I'm not crazy. I was starting to feel a bit weird about that.
Okay, well, we are overtaken by Eid. People are too happy to be eating ram. And the children of Nigeria must demand their day back.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do agree. Justice for
They're
the
not
children
even,
of Nigeria.
they're not productive.
Professor. Professor. Easy, Professor. All right. So, as per usual, Lagos, Nigeria, we take a look at the front pages of the dailies. We have the Daily Trust today. Perhaps the Guardian is busy celebrating Children's Day. But the Daily Trust newspapers today has as its lead story, INEC timetable must align with Electoral Act, court rules. Underneath that, a bit of a long rider that points to the judgment that was issued by the court regarding the timelines, the timetables that INEC has set in place for the 2027 general elections. It covers everything from the conduct of political party primaries to the actual campaigning period itself, as well as the idea of substituting names of candidates who are not available for the election at the time when the elections swing around. Above this, still talking elections, you have court clears Jonathan to contest 2027 presidential election. And then Eid-el-Kabir, Tinubu, governors, others felicitate with Muslims, preach hope. ADC presidential primaries, Amechi Hayatuddin reject results as Atiku leads. The bottom of the Daily Trust newspapers has May 27. Despite advocacy, Nigerian children remain vulnerable. And then 6 youths returning to Sokoto for Salah die in road crash. 1.7 million pilgrims converge on Arafat for Hajj's most sacred rite. And finally, cholera kills 27 in Borno. That's your comprehensive look at the Daily Trust newspaper this morning.
And this morning we turn to The Guardian. Lead story here, the headline reads, Opposition parties battle divisions, parallel camps ahead of 2027. At the top of the page, Malabu, I'm so sorry. Malabu sues federal government over OPL 245, demands 1 trillion naira compensation. Eid-el-Kabir, Tinubu assures Nigerians of better days, urges unity. Also, credit to private sector drops by 15% amid rising political risks. To the left of the page, military kills 317 terrorists as Borno closes school over abduction of 42 students. Healthy diet cost doubles since fuel subsidy removal hits 1,541 naira. So that tells us that it costs 1,541 naira for a healthy diet. Not certain. We'll have to look at that. Also, going down to other headlines, indigenous oil firms, refineries evade Niger Delta cleanup funding. INEC disowns political parties' membership figures. 2027. Again, court orders INEC to review election timelines amid appeal. EFCC transfers Mamman to Kuje prison to begin 75-year jail term. And the final headline here, importers shun Nigerian ports for Benin, as charges hit 20 million naira. That's your comprehensive look at the front page of The Guardian this morning. Professor, I'm certain that the political parties, the ADC and all of that will come up after the headlines at 8, but I think it's important for us to take a look at a few other things leading up to 8 o'clock. And I want to talk about the perception of justice and the case of Saleh Mamman, former Minister of Power. He's now, as of this morning, he's spending his Salah in Kuje prison, at least if we go by what we were told yesterday. And I usually think it's important to sort of sit with stories like this for a few minutes, simply because the prevailing idea of justice in Nigeria when it comes to, quote, powerful or big people, big men, is that they evade justice or justice is not for them. And so I think it's important that, we stress this, even if it might have its caveats. And the caveats would usually be something like, oh, yeah, it's because this person would have fallen out of favor with the current guys in power or something or the other. There's somebody he didn't butter up properly. But whatever the caveat is, there is still this perception. And I think my question to you is whether you think that this morsel of bread is enough for us to believe that one day you go better.
No, I think it's a good start. I don't know if it's good to say one day with that or anything. I think okay, so the truth is that number one is that a society that cannot guarantee justice at every level, that cannot enforce law and order at every level, is a bad society. We must admit that. And we are not just bad because we cannot guarantee law and order. Our situation is worse because we do not believe it even when we say it. And you can understand why, because it's rarely the case. So that's the second thing. We need to learn to believe things at face value. Not easy, but we need to stick to technical things and say, yeah, this is the work, not technical. We need to stick to facts and help ourselves. The third point that people talk about selective justice, I think those who should worry about selective justice should be the victim, especially when we're talking about public figures and especially those in government, but also, personalities and people in high places like you and Steve. Exactly. Not people like me. Normal people like us should not worry about it. What we should be asking ourselves is it true? So the point is, this Maman person, it shouldn't matter to a simple Angela Killer, to a simple John Smith or or a maker on the road, if they're using it to hunt him or not. What should matter to us is that is what they're saying, is it true that he has looted money? Has any crime been committed? That's what really matters to us. Let us leave the victim and analyst to see if there's a political undertone. It should just be black or white, true or false. That should be the key thing. Those are the three elements that I think matters to me in this kind of scenario.
Well, the black and white of this particular conversation is, as Nabila said, the man will start off his Salah celebrations in Kuje prison, over in Abuja. 75 years, Professor. I know that
I'll tell you what, Steve, though.
Yes.
Steve, there's only one thing I want to say. One other thing I think we're worried about when it comes to fraud, matters of fraud these days. 75 years is symbolic. Whether I spend 7 days or the whole 75 years, did they retrieve the loot?
Professor, there's a song by Omawumi. If you ask me, now who I go ask? What I do know is that the EFCC is also working to get the forfeiture of another 5 properties that have been linked to Mr. Maman. So perhaps not the loot itself, but the proceeds from the loot is the thing that the EFCC is recovering. I'm not sure if the money is
still very little time to go to headline, but EFCC needs to up their game. They should do less Rambo and more of loot recovery. It is called economic and financial, not criminal, not terrorist, not thuggery. But go ahead.
Professor, like I said, I know that the EFCC wants to get properties that were bought with the monies that have been linked to Mr. Maman. Whether these properties were bought with the money that he was accused of taking is a completely different story entirely, and perhaps the EFCC will provide that clarity. As you've said, less Rambo.
Why are you starting that? I'm stressing you unnecessarily.
No, stress? No, Professor, you're not stressing me.
You're starting as you are not the EFCC. This is what you know.
Prof, this is what is stressing me. This is what's stressing me. Every time that I hear that somebody has been jailed for, fraud, corruption, one thing or the other, I say, okay, good, fantastic. But I also remember that in the past, we have seen people who have faced jail terms get forgiveness at some point and secure their freedom through presidential pardons. I think about Joshua Dare, former governor of Plateau State. I think about Jolly Nyame.
If we got their loot back, if we got everything back, I will forgive them too.
Well, that one saved day.
This is the news review on Now Breakfast.
Welcome back. It's the news review here on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos, on Wednesday morning, the 27th of May 2026. We are your hosts. I'm Nabila Usman here with my co-host
Stephen Imediegu.
Our guest on the news review is the Wednesday man. Professor Anthony Kila is Center Director at the Commonwealth Institute of Advanced and Professional Studies. He joins us to discuss the stories on the front pages of the Daily Trust as well as The Guardian. And just before we dive right back into it, Eid al-Adha to all our Muslim brothers and sisters across Nigeria and the rest of the world who are celebrating today. Radio Now celebrates with you. And to the children of Nigeria, happy Children's Day. Yes. And please, nobody should call me and be like 18 and above and tell me I'm my mother's child or my father's child. That
is discrimination, Nabila.
Okay,
I don't
just
care.
saying.
It's discrimination.
But we are turning to the front pages. Professor, let's dig into the politics of it all. Quite a morning to be discussing politics, but also expectedly because the African Democratic Congress, which should be seen as one of the major political parties, the opposition parties, it's yet to announce the conclusion of its presidential primary, chose to carry out a direct primary, much like the APC did. And you've already got the cracks and the fissures already showing with Rotimi Amechi, who is one of the aspirants, and Muhammad Hayatuddin, who's the other aspirant. There's three of them, as we know. Something about Atiku Abubakar being the elephant in the room, right? I don't know, some people talk about the elephant, some others do not. He's the only person who hasn't come out to denounce any sort of irregularities or whatever it might be with his party's presidential primaries. Are you surprised, Professor, by where we are? Hello, Professor, can you hear me? All right, does seem like we may have lost the connection with Professor Kila. We're going to get back on with him in a moment. But just to give you a sense of it, the African Democratic Congress, this was on today's Wednesday. So on Monday, they'd started their direct primary for who would be on the ballot, who would be their party's flag bearer for the presidency. And they're still calculating the votes. There have been, if you like, early projections, but also results across states. But in many ways, the states for now are not really what matters. It's, pardon me, my voice is getting away from me this morning.
It must be because you accuse those of us above the age of 18 of not having a right to celebrate Children's Day.
You'll be fine.
The frog is not going to let you go. But it's all good.
All right, so I think my voice is back now. Professor, can you hear us?
Very well.
All right, fantastic. So I'm speaking to the issues within the ADC and how Rotimi Amechi and Muhammad Hayatuddin have both come out to denounce the process because they claim irregularities. The person who seems to be benefiting from this is Atiku Abubakar, who has not come out to denounce any irregularities. And in many ways, it's like they say the more things change, the more they remain the same, because this might be 2023 all over again. I remember a certain PDP convention and how a certain Nyesom Wike was shook at the last minute. Your thoughts, Professor, on whether this is surprising and what this says about the state of opposition politics in the country?
Well, let us start about what it says about our political class and then how it extends to we the people. So we're living an era of what I call the normalization of absurdity or normalization of abnormality. There's too many people growing up in this country who think it is normal to have a process, then not trust it, then contest it, then hope something will happen. It's so bad that when we were eliminated from the World Cup, or is it Nations Cup, people were imagining that there could be a protest and they could review the thing and get us back in the World Cup. Because we have a mindset of not trusting the process, not believing that's the end of it. Part of it is belief. The other part is actually there are fraudulent people in our system. So we need to think this political class that do not trust themselves. Amechi, Atiku, what's the other chap's name?
Muhammad Hayatuddin.
The Hayatuddin chap. All these people have been in the same room together. They probably, shared food on the table. And the people who are late to be rigging, I don't think that they were rigging physically, are their people What kind of political class do we have? Now, this idea that people think it is okay for politicians to be dishonest and reliable, not to keep their promises, to be double-faced, it's not normal. We shouldn't accept it, and they shouldn't tell me it's the same all over the world. It's not normal anywhere where people do it. I believe it is the people's fault that we allow politicians to be this way. We need to denounce it, or or just blame the leaders of it. We need to find something to say this is unacceptable and this is the cause of it. How can we just think it's okay for people not to trust their own primaries, to denounce it? I say it's on the part of denouncers, and I say on those part of the riggers as well, because that is what it is. We're talking about the ADC now, but let's be fair. It's a political class thing because I've seen some video of APC people as well, counting from 1 to 27, if not from 27 to 112. They're not daft. It's not that they don't know how to count. They're just fraudulent. I mean, I think we're normalizing this kind of abnormality too much. And I'm very worried that there will come a generation that thinks it's okay to lie. There will come a set of people who will not worry about what is right or what is wrong, but just what is useful. I've seen people weak when I show them what I call crime, the abnormality, the manipulation that somebody on their political divide is doing. They just wake and say, oh, yes, no, leave that. And I say, it's not normal. Why are you doing this? I think parents, leaders, clerics, teachers, thinkers should not allow this to happen unchallenged around them.
Yeah, Professor, you say this. And somewhere in that political class is some imam and pastor and something or the other, parent and teacher and all of that. So all of this just to point back to how it's never wrong when you say that your democracy is really just a reflection of the people as well. There's a social culture, if you like, across the board. And I think maybe that's one thing that we are a little reluctant to discuss. The idea that it is not just these people who are the faces of politics, but also that the general population will tend towards these rather unscrupulous attitudes or whatever it might be, even outside of politics. And so I just go back to your point about the clerics and the teachers and the parents, and some politician will come out and his title, and I will use his as the pronoun here simply because overwhelmingly so is the men that we see. His title will be Reverend or Al-Haji, and I take Al-Haji carefully because that doesn't make the person a religious cleric, but maybe you'll find a sheikh somewhere and then you'll find out that there was some teacher. Actually, there's somebody who fits. There's a professor who fits this bill perfectly who just won governorship primaries in a state up north. I'm going to keep the name to myself, but that's the point I'm making, Professor, that really the political class is not, they didn't drop from the moon. Right? They're taken from the people.
I see what you mean, but I'll tell you what. I think in the middle of all this chaos, where we have millions of, if not fraudulent people prone to tolerate fraud. Let's put it that way. People who are more likely to go for crime rather than honesty. I think it will help us if we started with the politicians, because I think politicians are more influential. I grew up as a first child, and one thing I know is that when trouble happens, they always say, "Okay, you're older than the others."
Yes.
I had
Professor, don't worry, I can relate. Some people are somewhere down the line in their family order, so they can't relate to this responsibility.
Exactly. So you got this sense of responsibility. I do believe that we should start with the politicians, because one, they're fewer, they're more visible, and they're more influential. And I think I actually believe that people who are high up there, noblesse oblige, people who are high up there, we should give them double responsibility. We should hold them to higher standards and give them double punishment when they err. We shouldn't say, well, everybody is the same. No, not everybody is the same. If you're a cleric, you mount the podium to talk about thou shalt not steal and thou shalt not lie. If you lie or you steal, we should give you double punishment. Because they also call you daddy. At least Pentecostal churches, there's one of people who call their pastors daddy. When
And
they
their
can-
political leaders.
Professor,
And their political leaders.
Professor Daddy
And
Anthony
the
Kila.
Yeah, in this nation of orphans, where everybody's looking for daddies where they didn't put one.
Look,
Ooh.
So these spiritual, political, social treats daddies and mommies. Let's always have the mommies thing. These daddies and mommies, they should be punished severely when they do things wrong, and they should be called out.
Mm.
I think that's the whole point. That's what we need to start from. It's not normal to say we should change the verbs. Like, oh, you rigged and say something lightly. No, you're stealing. You're a liar.
You know,
I think we need to break it down in such terms.
Professor, I do agree with you. I think that the English language, first of all, is not Nigeria's language. It's Nigeria's official language. We have a bunch of other languages that we
And
use
that
as
language
people.
regretting coming to Nigeria. The kind of things that has happened to it here.
True. One such thing, and I think this is Nabila, one of Nabila's pet peeves, allegedly. The way it's thrown around in the Nigerian media. Allegedly. Well, I'm going to come back to language in just a moment, but Lagos, Nigeria, we want you to be a part of the conversation today. So the phone lines are now active. 0913 5000 953 is how to reach us this morning. If you're just tuning in, this is the news review here on Radio Now 95.3 FM. Alternatively, you can send us WhatsApp messages to 0809 682 2595. Professor, language is confusing on the one hand for most people. It's easy to understand for others, and there's that whole disconnect when you want to translate what was said in English to your native dialect and how certain words go missing. I don't know that about corruption. Perhaps I will speak with better speakers of the Igbo language so I can find out what corruption actually does mean. But I do remember, you might guess his name because he's in the news as well, someone coming out to say corruption is not stealing at some point in this country. And till today, Professor, even with my degree in English language, I can't wrap my head around it. And I will admit, as a Nigerian who is Igbo, please don't take me to task over my failure to understand in the English language that corruption is not stealing, because you all heard it when I heard it.
you know, I am caught by something, Professor.
Yeah.
So usually the one thing I say about the Electoral Act is how it's the one piece of legislation that should be renewed, or rather amended as frequently as possible, right? And the reason why is, you pass it, the National Assembly passes it, President signs it into law, it becomes a law. But really, the true test of that law comes up when the general election cycle comes around. Not the off-cycle elections, they don't really count. And I find it very interesting what's happening with the current Electoral Act, because we're seeing it tested and played out now, even before, this is 6-7 months before the general elections. I am thinking about things like how the removal of indirect primaries as a system, we've already seen the kind of hubbub, the trouble that it has caused within the political parties. And this is across all of them, not just, the APC, for instance. We've also seen the clause that bars the elected officials from holding the membership of more than one party. And I can't help but think about someone who's just won the PDP governorship ticket for the coming elections, in the person of former Minister of Information and of Communication, former senior member of the All Progressives Congress, in the person of Professor Isa Ali Pandemi. He's just won the PDP governorship ticket, right? So he's going to contest for governor of Gombe State under that party, a party that he and his fellow APCers lambasted, and whatever other Nigerian language that's, it's English, but it's also unique to us in its usage. They spent 8 years telling us, oh yeah, it was 12 years of PDP. They were very unserious. They were this, they were that. And then there he is now. I think about the business of political parties and the timelines for the conduct of their primaries or submissions of things. Today, we've got two headlines where two different courts have said that INEC doesn't have the right to enforce such a hard timeline for the political parties. So all of this to say that this is an electoral act that in many ways should have solved things, but it seems to have thrown up quite a number of other issues. And I come back to how it would be funny if it were not so serious, because this is an electoral act that was designed by lawmakers. This is how many of them? 360 in the lower chamber, in the green chamber, 109 in the red chamber. They went through it for how long? There were civil society organizations who made their own contributions. The president also seemed somewhat, from a removed standpoint, somewhat, involved in just sharing whatever the thoughts might be. I really don't know. And yet here we are today, and it seems like this electoral act has caused more problems than it has solved them. That's my thought now, just assessing the landscape. And it seems to be setting us up for an extremely polarized political cycle, which will end by the time we're done with the elections in February. This is
Then we shall then go for another.
Yeah, and then we'll go through another amendment process.
Wait. Ending in February?
You see,
The governorship elections are in February.
Oh, okay.
I think you're right. We can keep going through the reform, and and this is me sounding very, very gated here. But the issue is really with the people doing this thing, with the people involved, these actors. These politicians are really our problem. But I didn't think politicians are the root of our problem, but later I realized that they are actually the problem themselves. Can you imagine that we have a situation where if you look at the Senate, if you look at the other chamber, the other legislative chamber, if you look at the governors, really, if you look at anybody in Nigeria who has won a primaries or a general election, rarely can you see somebody who has not done something untowardly. We seem to forget that it's even a crime to bribe voters, to give voters money. In a normal life, I took an election in the UK, and one of the things you're taught is that you do not even go out with your wallet at all. So you're not tempted to pay for tea or beer. Have you noticed that British politicians, when they go, somebody else pay for the pints, when they do it instead of going to the bar? Because if you're caught for £1, you can be disqualified to be seen to induce somebody by paying for their drink. We dole out cash here. We think it's normal to give money to delegates, to give money to voters. So when I look at people who have won primaries or general elections in this country, I look at that hall, I look at the governor's forum, I look at the senators, and I'm thinking, I doubt if anyone here can stand up and say, I did not do anything untowardly. We're not in the general election thing, but even in the primary, I don't know. Maybe Showore would have gotten his ticket without bribing, but I saw his own convention too. Some of those people sitting there, I don't think they're passionate volunteers. Because I look at the body language.
Professor,
it's a very terrible state where with these politicians. Yeah.
Yeah, another song by Brother Burna Boy, Body Don't Dey Tire. Last time around that Showore was running for president, he announced his intention while swimming. Perhaps that was more relaxing. I don't know if his convention this time around saw him win his consensus candidacy in a relaxing environment. Perhaps if he had done it in a swimming pool as he did last time around, his delegates might have been a bit more enthusiastic or a bit more relaxed in their approach. It's ridiculous, and to anybody who is listening from outside Nigeria or who is just being introduced, you're meeting Nigerian politics for the first time, it might sound like I'm cracking jokes. No, I'm just reporting the news. Showore announced his candidacy in a poll last time around, while a certain Rotimi Amechi, who is currently aggrieved with the ADC's collation process, previously took a run around the stadium to show that he would hit the ground running. So we've seen all sorts of announcements. We've seen Nigerian politicians dramatize their mission to fix Nigeria. We've seen an Atiku Abubakar who, please correct me if I'm wrong, has never not been on the ballot when he contested any presidential election. Somehow these are the people who still remain at the forefront of the conversation around Nigeria's elections, leading Nigeria out of one problem or the other. But this conversation around not holding more than one party's membership is where I'm heading with all of this. We've seen politicians criticize parties and then join those parties at some point. In Gombe State, of course, Issa Pantami now being the latest iteration of a governor who is switching platforms and then, finding himself as the ticket holder for the elections. But there's a theme through all of these names that I've mentioned, and that is the contention that they feel that they are the right people to lead the people they represent into a brighter dawn. But as you have pointed out, Professor, it must start with the politicians, and the politicians are not separable, or perhaps they are when they cross carpet, from political party systems. So I think until we get to the point where we can look at an individual based on their individual merits and not the party, or their individual merits alone because they are not associated with a political party, we'll continue to see this cross-carpeting jackpot from one political party to the other to ensure that you are the right man to lead your people. Lagos, Nigeria, please be a part of the conversations this morning. 0913 5953 is our number, or send WhatsApp messages to 0809 682 2595.
So, Professor, just perhaps further digging into the political landscape. In fairness, it seems like the APC and the NDC, at least if we look at the parties that we're used to calling, they seem to be the only two parties that don't have they don't have any contention to whoever is on their flag bearer for the presidential race. I am looking at the ADC, we're still waiting to hear what they say, but let's not forget that there's a faction that has declared Dumebi Kachiku as their presidential candidate. He was the candidate for the party in the 2023 elections, although even his candidacy is interesting because after his name had been submitted to INEC, there was also some disagreement within the party in that time and something about him stepping down from the race, but it was already too late. His name was on the ballot or his party was on the ballot, right? So there's that bit of context for the ADC. Then you think about the PDP, where as of sometime last night, you had the faction that supports or is backed by the FCT minister naming someone called Sandy Ono as their consensus candidate. Then you've got the other faction that has given former President Goodluck Jonathan the ticket as a consensus candidate. Then you've also got the bit of the PDP that follows through with Governor Seyi Makinde, who has said that it will be a PDP APM sort of collaboration. However he sees it, we don't know just yet. We're expecting that he will give us more insight into it. So this is the political landscape, and it's quite a mess, Professor. I don't know that we have seen this level of confusion for the presidential race before. I think that INEC has quite a road ahead of it in terms of whatever the legal battles will be, and it will confuse them as well because they're not the ones. I'm not saying that they're the ones who will go to court to challenge or whatnot. I'm saying that it will, if they had said that, by July we're going to have everything printed and ready, you'll find out that by July there's still some court case that's trying to determine something or the other. I know that there's supposed to be a timeline for pre-election matters lawsuits to be settled completely, which would be very helpful going forward. But once the law is settled, my issue goes back to what the political fallouts will be, right? What are aggrieved politicians going to do? How does that muddy the waters even further in terms of how we see our political culture or the political landscape in the country? Because you have been talking about the lying and thieving bit, right? But there's also this other part, which goes back to where you started, the idea that in the ADC, Amechi, Hayatuddin, and Atiku were in one room and they didn't seem to agree, and now they're coming out to challenge. I think we might be in for that over the next couple of months. Mind you, also just political actors and the landscape. I don't know whether anybody has talked about how interesting it is that people who resigned from the federal executive cabinet of this administration, they resigned specifically to go contest seats and they lost within their own party. They lost their tickets. I just wanted to, that's a footnote as an aside.
My cousins have a song that has the words, "Omo, no easy, eh? Oh. Professor, I apologize. Music is the only way I get through Nigerian politics these days.
I really not writing in the combination now. Let me start from your footnote to clarify that not, you put it vaguely when you just say, well, they didn't win. None of them win. Zero, zero. Everybody like left the cabinet. They left the cabinet to go and loot in their state, including the well-dressed, well-like foreign affairs minister.
Mhm.
The guy just seems like a good boy. He's like those kind of boys that never do anything wrong. They have their shoes polished, unlike the rest of us. They always have their tie in place. Well, he doesn't wear tie, but you know what I mean. He's pretty
Mhm.
much proper boy. And yeah, he's losing. He's going to lose in Bauchi. Who told him to contest? Um, the the problem we have there, and I link that to Steve, then come back to you. We should not. You're saying people just change parties. Of course, they change parties. These parties mean nothing to them. They're just vehicles to move around. They're not even the old taxis that you hail. They're more like the apps, like the Uber that you just do. You don't know who you get, and it really doesn't matter to you who you get. As long as you know their numbers is registered and that with their provider, that will be regulator, that will be INEC. As long as they've got license to protect and they can put your name on the platform, you don't care who they are. You just go with them. This attitude that politicians have towards party has made them not have anything sacred anymore to respect. They can violate anything, they can move anywhere. Actually, let's take it step by step. One, they can move anywhere, it doesn't matter. Then there are some people who can destroy anything, it doesn't matter. Honestly, I've never been a PDP person. But with a bit of sense of history in this country, to destroy that party, in the Fourth Republic, PDP was the first national party, perhaps the only national party. The rest were just regional. A party that has produced presidents and ministers, for some people to just destroy it without caring, growing factions, going to court, stopping it, it doesn't make sense. You talk about the fragmentation in other political parties as well. Who are these people who don't care? What is their interest? That they just stand up and challenge the party. What sense of justice are they going for? I think we need to more than interview them. We need to psychoanalyze them. But we also need to tell them some brutal things like, who are you? What's your interest? A chap woke up one day and he's from another party and he's challenging the registration of another party totally. Saying that they should not have registered. I think it's NDC that said they should have registered. Or one party, saying they should not have. And I'm thinking, you're not part of the party. What is your interest at all in making sure they do not invade? The Northeast man that went to challenge the ADC thing, he has disappeared now. I think it's Bala, what's his name?
Gombe.
The
Bala Gombe.
What's his name? Bala Gombe. That just came from nowhere to come and be a spoiler for no specific reason. Well,
I'm
and
sure,
there's no constructive.
Professor. I'm sure his reasons are valid to him.
To him, who is he? In the scheme of things, well, what kind of reason has he got? You see, we do not have a sense of, okay, I disagree, but let's be careful. What are the consequences of my action? And I also want to go to this lack of what is sacred, even to my colleague and friend, Professor Amukito. You just wake up one day and you throw some orders that throw the whole thing into chaos. What's the matter with us? I think we need to look at it. We need some people who can look at it along that line. As if, we lack common sense. Anybody can just do whatever they like. That's not normal. I'm very worried about our psyche, let alone our politics.
All right. Well, Professor, let's turn to Lagos and see what the country or what the state is saying to us today. Hello, good morning. Good morning. You're going to have to turn down the radio in the background so they can hear you without interference.
Thank you. I'll put it up now.
Morning, caller.
Good morning. This is I'm a radical political thinker. For me, I've been having this. I've made this submission that one of the problems democracy all over the world is facing right now is party system. I think parties themselves need to be abolished. If you look at what is going on in USA, The reason why they don't get things done is because the system passed through the political system, political parties, where some people hijack, and it's easy for rich people to hijack something like that. But if democracy wants to be democracy, there should not be parties. People who have interest should go direct. That should be everything should be direct. When democracy started, it started with direct everything. So we should make it as more direct as possible. Party system is blocking a lot of people from getting into. It's part of it's causing what I call complex democracy. And complex democracy only favors the rich. It doesn't favor the poor, and that is why poor people cannot. One of the reasons why poor people cannot contest is because, especially in Africa, here we practice a lot of complex democracy, and I think simple democracy is what we are made democracy democratic. So for me, I don't think the talk of whether one part of somebody is running from one party to another is the problem. I think the problem is what happens on the election day. What decisions the people are making? If everything, that's why I say there should be this, or is it called independent candidacy, if they are not abolishing party system, and they should introduce independent candidates so that.
Hello, caller. All right, we seem to have lost the connection to caller, but I think we got the crux of his contribution. 0913 5000 953 is the number to dial. You can still call in, share your thoughts on the conversation this morning. Perhaps you also want to react to Kola, who says independent candidacy should be introduced. What are your thoughts? Let's take a call.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Imedebu.
Morning, Chief Joseph.
Labila,
Hello, Chief Joseph.
the social woman. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, Professor Kila, good morning. Hello? I think my own thoughts will come this way. Labila, because I always follow you when you start, making your explanations.
Mm.
The background to what we are suffering is our social, when I say social, when I say affinity, because majority of us come from a background, and that background has influenced us so much that when we come to public fair, we now display it. The leaders come from us as a community and a society. The attitude we display back home is what we now bring up when we come to this public area. It's a majority of us who have come to this leadership position are people who believe that collective money is a money that is to be spent unaccounted for. And then people will say, yes, you have tried by making sure you got the piece of the cake. With that kind of mentality of, each time I mention it, I know my Labila will always say I'm going towards that way. All this monarchical attitude of one person is the only person to look upon and not collective ideas, which has to do with egalitarian society and, would I say, democratic society. Because when such an idea of once one person speaks, the others will fizzle off, even if they know what to say. They will not say it because they will be generally condemned. Why are you talking to the elders? Why are you diffusing what the elder has said, or what the king has said, or what the sultan has said? That's our major problem. And that thing has lingered up in this our climb of a political.
But it's a cultural thing, Chief Joseph. It's culture. Yeah. It's not just politics. It's culture.
The culture has been infused into our political system.
That makes sense. You're picking people from the culture to make up your political system. You can't expect them to be different when they enter the political system.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Why then are we eschewing the other one that calls for transparency and truthfulness.
Which part
Why?
of that?
Because there are other cultures, there are other cultures that the Europeans, when they came, they discovered in this our collective, would I say, yoking, collective yoking. They discovered that these people are different set of people. Why are we not looking at it critically? Which one will benefit us more, other than relying on the one that is like?
I still don't really follow what you are saying, Chief Joseph.
Yes. You will follow it by the sense that there are in our setting now, Nigeria, we have people who are more egalitarian, who are more entrepreneurial. The instinct in them is that they want to work out.
Okay.
And we have people who believe in saying man is our the only man we look upon.
Who are these people? Who are these people? Who are the egalitarian people and the ones who, what's the word that you said, who want to impose?
People,
who are they?
You know them. Go to your history that define Nigeria.
I don't know them.
Okay. The people that come from the one part of this country. They are
What part of
egalitarian.
this country?
Like from my own side.
What's your side?
Nobody decides for us.
What's your
Listen,
side?
Rabila,
What's your
let us
side?
be serious
What's your
now.
side? You can't call on air and say my own side. If you want to prefer solutions, tell me.
I come from the east.
The east.
No.
So
yes.
the southeast.
No.
Okay. So that's an
Listen,
egalitarian
I
society.
come from the eastern side of Nigeria, eastern region of Nigeria. In our own side, no singular person comes to decide for us. We have representations from each family. We talk and we say, this is how we have agreed. You cannot come tomorrow to say one person thwarted that thing that was agreed upon. That is how we behave in our place until tomorrow. You understand? But in other areas of this country, this same country,
What
the
other
north and
areas?
the west,
The north and the
north
west.
and the west,
What part of the north?
they believe that one person can speak for them.
Okay.
And that is the major problem. And for long, they have overtaken the political climate of this nation. And that is why we are having this problem of once anything is done there, they overlook it because it's public money. We don't do that in the East. It is impossible. Only that this thing now is affecting us. Because of the political pollution, they are now looking at it as if, well, let us join them. Let me tell you
and you are saying that only just started. You are saying that only just started.
We just started, yes.
Okay.
Nobody does this in the East and get away with it.
Chief Joseph, I disagree with you on that particular point. We've seen in number.
You grew up in the north.
It doesn't matter where I grew up, Chief Joseph.
Okay, go ahead and say something that is happening in the eastern Nigeria. Go ahead.
All right, fantastic. Chief Joseph, we've seen governors from southeastern Nigeria who have, in one way or the other, faced the consequences of their actions. They faced allegations of misappropriation, and they have had to face to have their day in court. So this is not something that was imported from any region. This is something that we have seen. Whether it's Abia State you want to talk about or Anambra State you want to talk about.
The most recent governors, you had former Governor Willie Obiano and former Governor, Governor Bazu was not the subject. I think Governor Willie Obiano.
Are they in jail now?
Look, it's Chief Joseph, hold on, because at this point you and I are splitting hairs that are very unnecessary. My problem with when you call in and you make these submissions, I've told you, you do need to desist from very broad strokes that you use on people. It's problematic. It's extremely problematic. There is no part of this country where you do not have people who have been accused of whether the allegations are fraud, embezzlement, corruption, whatever the case. So every time you come with a broad stroke to make one side good and the other side bad, it throws up exactly this conversation that you and I are having.
I came from your analysis now, so our social background.
Yes. And I did not single out any group. I did not single out any group or any region in that analysis.
Do you know that Americans have their own way of behavior?
That hardly matters to me in this conversation.
So the Igbo man, the Easterners, forget about the political pollution. The Igbo man have their own way of dealing with what they are doing.
Okay.
It's because they are not copying from these who believe in eating central money. Nothing comes out of it.
Okay.
Nobody go hold on. That's
Okay.
what is happening to us now.
All right. So then
Yes,
I
I
guess.
know what I'm saying.
Okay, Chief Joseph. So are you guys going to go and have a conversation? Since you said that that's what's happening, are you going to go back to the southeast and go and have the conversation and ask for support?
Madu, when he had problem in the UK,
Are you going to go back and have the
started
conversation?
condemning him.
Yes or no?
What?
Are you
He
going to
said-
go back and have the conversation? Since you say that it's a new culture that is popping up, maybe you
He's
should
a
go
new
back and start and
he's
ask
a-
how far.
Yes, that is why you see us coming up by the grace of God. Somebody like Peter Obi is coming out from that extraction.
Okay.
If they can give him chance, Nigeria will be better.
And so the fact
Because
that you've
he knows-
used ethnicity to justify his candidacy, how are you different from those who use ethnicity to justify other people's candidacy?
I am using ethnicity because right from beginning, Sadala of Sokoto brought ethnicity.
Oh, so you are
I
doing
want to
so wait,
tribalism.
you consider using ethnicity bad. So you are doing bad because somebody else did bad first. As per do me, I do.
That is why we want to correct it now.
Or you want to correct it by doing the same
Yes.
thing.
No, the correction is that you, Labila, when you express yourself, I
Yes.
see you being an enlightened person. If all of us can come together with that broadness and enlightenment, we'll be able to correct that part that is haunting us. And that is what is holding us to.
Chief Joseph, I don't know if you're expecting Nabila to come to southeastern Nigeria and help to address these issues.
The issue of the Eastern Nigeria is we are all just waiting for these people to consider that we will need to come together as a people to have national spirit and national interest.
So should Nabila come to southeastern Nigeria to help to coordinate this national
She
interest?
does not need to come. The Easterner has his own set of mind. He is waiting for you to change your mind so that we come together with a national spirit
Chief
to
Joseph,
rescue this nation. Or else we'll continue this way.
Well, Chief
Look at INEC.
Chief
look
Joseph,
at,
Chief
judiciary.
Joseph, given
Yes.
the level of underdevelopment that your own and my own home state, Abia State, has experienced up until this point, it's remarkable that you've taken this particular position, because despite the fact that former Governor Ojiu's Okalu's case, his conviction has been set aside by a court, he's still one of the governors who presided over an Abia State that had horrible roads, that had nothing to write home about when you talk about flood management or even electricity. So this is not an issue about one region importing their. Just a moment, Chief Joseph. It's not an issue of one region. Chief Joseph, you are excusing the activities of a full-grown man.
You can always do what you want.
Chief Joseph, it's disappointing that you're excusing the activities of a full-grown man, a man who stood up to say, I will lead my people, I will govern my people. You're excusing it as the place where he grew up, the place where he was brought up. You've accused me of the same thing as well. So I guess... No, Chief Joseph, that is completely unacceptable. It's completely unacceptable. If you take that particular position, you are no different from the very people that you have accused of using ethnicity and tribalism to set Nigeria back.
That's what is haunting us.
No, Chief Joseph.
What is haunting? Come back to accuse it.
Chief Joseph.
Chief Joseph, you've got 15 more seconds. Wrap up your thoughts.
I am wrapping up that until we come to terms with our past that is haunting us, tribalism and nepotism, we cannot go anywhere. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, Chief Joseph. Good morning to you too. 0913 5000 953 is the number to dial this morning. Again, that's 0913 5000 953. Let's take a call.
Hello, good morning.
Hello?
You're going to have to turn down the volume on your radio so we can hear you, caller.
I'll put it down.
Thank you.
I think what I hear, sometimes I just want to advise a little bit. Please, when use arguments back and front, why don't you allow your speaker to conclude their thoughts?
All right, caller, move on to what you want to contribute on.
Thank you very much. So my case, what I was striking at is, at the end of the day, what matters is what happens during the elections, what the choices that the people make. As long as we allow everybody to confront, if you have any knowledge, that's what the move is all about. Everybody should go, whatever party they join, whether they move from one party to another, move to another party, we want everybody to come and they market the ideas and the people make the right choice. So for me, what is important is our people need to make the right choice, and the media need to help us by shedding light to the program, to the ideas. It's not necessarily when they pay you for advert before you put the ideas on. Most radio stations, most television stations in Nigeria, you have to get the people have to pay them before. No, they do it in USA. They don't have can get advert to run their program. So what I'm trying to, and let me end by saying this, please. With all due respect to my brother who just spoke, the projection sometimes we do some things, we project what we have in mind and to another people. When you say Yoruba people, Hausa people, these are believe in the North. You see, if there is any nation, any people in this country that is highly tribalistic, I'm telling you, it is the Northerners.
Kola, I
Are you
beg
hearing
you,
me?
do
Yes.
not continue with that line of thought.
He said,
Do not continue with that line of thought.
I cannot continue.
No, that particular statement, please do not make it again.
That is highly less tribalistic. That is not tribalistic.
Let's just not continue down the line.
Okay.
Yes.
So I just want everybody to. Maybe one day when we have that kind of discussion, one day, so that those who because some people have bad information about other people. Maybe they don't live, they don't interact with other people.
Fair
So
point.
it is not that I live in the Igbo land. So please, no problem. Let's be as the speaker rightly said. Let us get using these ideas of that. But what matter is water, running water, electricity, and let's vote wisely. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kola.
Thank you, Kola.
Much appreciated. Professor Kila, I think we'll just break for a moment to get your thoughts on what has been shared so far. Perhaps you want to say something.
Well, I think that there's a lot of things that you said that prove your point that the leadership is a mirror of the people as well. I think we have serious civic deficit in our social structure, and again, it is what teachers, parents, broadcasters, and everybody that's influential need to work on. There's a lot of problems, but I do agree with the last caller that maybe we should just focus on the things we need. The food growth, the water. Gosh, which are so primordial. The rest of the world has solved this problem a century ago. But anyway, this is where we are now. So I mean, we just need to focus on all those things and and open our eyes. I don't know if Steve has a song for that.
Shine your eyes, shine a
Open the
mirror.
eyes of my heart,
Okay.
Lord. Professor, there's a song for everything. There's no conversation about Nigeria where you won't find a song. One particular song, Professor, that I think I've sang a bit of it this morning, has to do with children. Whether or not today is Children's Day, children continue to be a very serious conversation in Nigeria. If it is not the fact that we're worried about how many of them are out of school, it has now become a worry that children are exposed to terrorism and horrors in 2026. The Daily Trust has a headline, May 27, despite advocacy, Nigerian children remain vulnerable. If you think that headline is blowing breeze, then, or as my new favorite word, lapazi, perhaps you want to take a look outside of your windows. Tell me how many children you see on the streets, begging, roaming about, simply sitting in one place and just staring in the mud. Too many. That's my answer to that particular question. So the Nigerian child in 2026 is still vulnerable. And then my big question would be, so what is the point of celebrating Children's Day every year? Maybe we should just scrap this particular holiday because it doesn't appear that there's been any improvement in the lot of the children. Professor, it's the question that bothers me today.
Well, I think these children we're not taking it very serious. We just mouth and there's so many beautiful TikToks that we mouth. One is that they are the future of tomorrow. Our biggest asset takes a child and one person to what's that thing? The one that says it takes a village to raise a child anyway. I don't know how many people think the best one. We say all those things, but we don't do much about it. We don't take it serious. You look at our the infrastructure of our education, what we pay to teachers. The example we give to these children, it's just we're not taking it serious. Some people are not taking it serious because they're mysterious. Some people are not taking it serious because they're too poor to do anything. Because if you look at the family that is just aching to make a living, where they're really struggling, how do they afford these all these luxurious decency things we're talking about. I think we need to take this thing very seriously and to know that a society that does not invest, nurture, and safeguard its youngest ones is a society doomed for disaster.
I hear you, Professor, and I hear you loud and clear. Perhaps this is the note on which we wrap today's news review. Professor, thanks to you for being a part of the conversations on the front pages that focused on the front pages of the dailies. Lagos, Nigeria, we're grateful to you as well for listening all the way from 6 a.m. till this time on Now Breakfast. You're advised to stay tuned to your Beyond the News station because there's plenty more to come. At 9 a.m., we're going to be bringing you the news summary at 9. Abiodun Adelaware will then lead you through today's edition of the midday show. He's got the interview for your listening pleasure, as well as your take and the midday brunch lined up to educate and inform you. Then we've got Joshua Maradesa, Helmin Now Express. He walks you through the Woman Crush Wednesday today, as well as the big story and the roundtable, before Sporting Goodness continues to be delivered by the duo of Nira Adesoya and Susan Omokbaloye. That's how your Wednesday will play out as long as you stay tuned to your Beyond the News station. My name is Stephen Imediego, urging you to stay tuned as we track up to 9 a.m. and the news summary. Good morning.
Stay tuned to your Beyond the News station daily for our up-to-the-minute compact news bulletins from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., 4 p.m. and 6 p.m., bringing you a wide range of local and international news from our news desk. Stay informed, stay updated on Radio Now 95.3 FM.